Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a massive regional story to share with you. This isn't just your standard arms procurement. It's a historic decision that's going to shape the security of the South Pacific for decades to come. Imagine having one of the largest exclusive economic zones in the world, but only a handful of combat-ready warships to patrol it. And to make matters worse, those ships are aging fast. This is the exact dilemma the Royal New Zealand Navy is facing right now. The big question is, how will they solve this crisis amidst the fiercely escalating geopolitical battles of our time? It all starts with New Zealand's two Anzac-class frigates, HMNZ Te Kaha and HMNZ Te Mana. These ships have been the backbone of the New Zealand Navy since the 1990s. While they've received upgrades to their combat systems and sensors, time and technology wait for no one. The structural integrity of these hulls is reaching its limit. But even more critically, New Zealand is dealing with a severe manpower crisis. It's gotten so bad that at times they literally couldn't deploy a ship simply because they didn't have enough crew. This vulnerability has forced New Zealand to urgently seek replacement frigates. And they aren't just looking for a boat with a gun or a few missiles. They need a vessel that requires a minimal crew, is easy to maintain, and packs top-tier capabilities to handle whatever threats emerge over the next 30 years. Fast forward to our latest mid-2026 update, and the New Zealand Ministry of Defense has narrowed down the options from the world's top shipbuilders to just two final contenders. And this matchup is incredibly fascinating because it's a clash between two radically different naval design philosophies. In the red corner, we have the new hope from Asia, the Upgraded Mogami class frigate, also known as the new FFM from Japan. In the blue corner, representing their traditional, long-standing alliance, is the Type 31 frigate from the United Kingdom. Before we dive into the details of each ship, let's put things into perspective. New Zealand manages an absolutely massive exclusive economic zone, and they're tasked with patrolling all the way down to the Southern Ocean and Antarctica. So the ships they need must be incredibly rugged, durable, and capable of long-endurance missions through brutal, unpredictable sea states. And just as importantly, they need superior survivability in modern electronic warfare environments. This is the ultimate test both of these designs must pass to prove to the New Zealand government and its taxpayers that they are worth every single cent of this multi-billion-dollar investment. Let's kick things off with the current frontrunner, the Upgraded Mogami from Japan's Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. If you follow naval technology, you know the original Mogami was already a futuristic marvel, featuring an advanced stealth design that cleanly hides it from enemy radar. But the version being pitched to New Zealand is an absolute beast. The hull has been stretched to 142 meters, and the full load displacement has jumped to over 6,200 tons. And they didn't just add empty space, they packed it with serious firepower. The standout feature is a 32-cell Mark 41 vertical launch system. This would massively boost New Zealand's offensive capabilities, whether for long-range air defense or even land attack strikes. But the real game changer that has New Zealand looking closely at Japan isn't the weapons, it's the ship's brain and extreme automation. The Upgraded Mogami is designed as a true smart ship. It utilizes an integrated mast system called Unicorn, which houses all the antennas and sensors inside a single, clean structure, significantly reducing radar cross-section and signal interference. Thanks to this high degree of automation, this nearly 6,000-ton warship requires a core crew of only about 90 personnel. You heard that right, just 90 people. This directly answers the New Zealand Navy's manpower crisis. It's exactly what the doctor ordered. Now let's turn to the challenger from the UK, the Type 31, also known as the Inspiration class. This frigate is based on Babcock's highly successful Arrowhead 140 design, which has been performing incredibly well in the international export market. The British design philosophy here is the polar opposite of the Japanese approach. While Japan focuses on packing dense, cutting-edge tech into a stealthy frame, the UK prioritizes volume and space. The Type 31 has a similar full-load displacement of nearly 6,000 tons, but it opts for a more balanced approach to its weapons and sensors, nothing overly specced out. The goal is to keep the ship affordable, budget-friendly, and to leave plenty of extra room for future upgrades or mission-specific modules as threats evolve. A massive advantage of the Type 31 is its operational flexibility. With its cavernous internal volume, it can easily carry unmanned surface vessels, underwater drones, or specialized equipment containers. This makes it ideal for long-range patrols across the vast Pacific. Furthermore, New Zealand has a deep historical familiarity with Western and British naval doctrine and weapons systems. Transitioning their crews to a British-built ship would likely be much smoother and require a shorter learning curve than jumping completely into a Japanese combat system. To give you a crystal clear picture of how these two ships stack up, I've put together a detailed spec comparison. We'll look at everything side by side, including an estimated unit cost in US dollars. Let's take a look at the breakdown. Looking at the table, you can really start to see the contrasting philosophies. At first glance, if we're talking pure endurance and long-distance travel, the UK's Type 31 has the edge with a massive 9,000 nautical mile range. Plus, its wider hull provides the volume to accommodate up to 160 personnel, which is perfect for deploying special forces or handling the humanitarian aid and disaster relief missions that New Zealand frequently conducts across Oceania. And on top of that, the baseline cost is roughly $100 million US cheaper per ship. But when you drill down into the weapons and technology, Japan's upgraded Mogami pulls significantly ahead. It comes standard with a more powerful 5-inch main gun, a cutting-edge AESA radar, and a towed array sonar system built in from day one. In contrast, many of the British systems are fitted for but not with, meaning the space is there, but you have to buy and install the actual hardware later. Furthermore, the biggest game changer is the crew size. The Mogami operates with just 90 sailors. Over a 30-year lifespan, personnel costs are actually the most expensive part of running a modern navy. The massive savings in crew costs easily offset the initial price tag. Basically, you pay more up front, but you solve the manpower crisis instantly and get a ship that's combat-ready out of the box. And this brings us to the crucial tipping point that makes this whole situation so tense. New Zealand's decision isn't just about reading specs off a spreadsheet. It's deeply intertwined with a much larger geopolitical game. The biggest variable in the room is their big brother, Australia. Just recently, Australia sent shockwaves through the defense community by announcing they are moving forward with procuring 11 upgraded Mogami frigates from Japan to modernize their own fleet. This move by Australia is acting as massive strategic pressure pointed directly at the New Zealand government. If we look back at history, the Australian and New Zealand navies are incredibly tight-knit. They've operated the standard Anzac-class frigates together for decades, sharing training centers, spare parts, and combat tactics. With Australia pivoting to Japanese technology, if New Zealand decides to go with the British Type 31, they will instantly become the odd man out in the region. Their interoperability with the Australian fleet would plummet. Shared maintenance and logistics would go out the window. For a small navy like New Zealand's, that's a strategic risk they absolutely do not want to take. On the flip side, if New Zealand bites the bullet, pays the premium, and chooses the upgraded Mogami alongside Australia, they get something extraordinary: the creation of an Anzac 2.0 fleet. Think about it. Over 14 standardized frigates patrolling seamlessly across the South Pacific, sharing the exact same parts supply chain and sending their crews to the same training hubs in Sydney or Tokyo. This would be a massive force multiplier, drastically strengthening the naval deterrence of Western allies in the Pacific. It also pulls Japan fully into the security architecture of the South Pacific, which, behind the scenes, is likely exactly what the United States is pushing for. But of course, real life isn't as simple as a movie script. The biggest hurdle for the New Zealand government right now is a very tight defense budget, compounded by an economy that isn't exactly booming. Writing a massive multi-billion-dollar check for highly complex warships is something they have to justify to the taxpayers. Some critics in New Zealand view the Mogami like a hypercar. It's fast, it's advanced, but is it overkill? Given that the bulk of New Zealand's naval missions involve cracking down on illegal fishing, search and rescue, and naval diplomacy, a high-performance, heavy-duty pickup truck like the Type 31 might just be good enough and a much better use of limited funds. To wrap it all up, we are witnessing one of the most difficult crossroads in the history of the Royal New Zealand Navy. Down one path is flexibility, cost-effectiveness, and budget stability with the British Type 31. Down the other path is a leap into the future, choosing the cutting-edge tech of Japan's upgraded Mogami, solving the manpower crisis through extreme automation, and, most importantly, maintaining an unbreakable strategic bond with Australia. The New Zealand Minister of Defense recently confirmed that a final decision will be made by the end of 2027. The whole world, especially the major powers in the Indo-Pacific, is watching this historic deal without blinking. So, what do you guys think about New Zealand's frigate dilemma? Between the heavy-hitting tech and extreme automation of Japan's upgraded Mogami to lock in with Australia, or the flexible, budget-friendly, and long-legged Type 31 from the UK, which path do you think gives New Zealand the best bang for its buck? If you were making the call, which ship would you choose? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts. If you enjoyed deep dives into military tech, naval hardware, and geopolitical analysis, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to ring that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming breakdowns. That's all from me for today. I'm Mix, and I'll see you in the next one.